Look at that goat. Just being lazy. I don't know who she thinks she is. Can't just lay down all day long. But that's not what this video is about. So, a few days ago, actually last week I think, I did a video on modifying metal zones and changing them into radically different things. Since I had so many questions of people asking me exactly what I was doing, I figured I would actually take this opportunity to teach you. Maybe you're a DIYer, maybe you just want to learn a little bit about the circuits and schematics and all that voodoo-ish type stuff. I figured I would teach you how to do it yourself. You could do this with a number of different circuits, basically as long as you're using op amps, because it's a lot easier. Let's dive into some nerdery with some circuit schematics using the metal zone. All right, here we go. All right, so first let's go to a fantastic site called electricdruid.net. It has a really good circuit explanation of the Boss metal zone. Read through this on your own because it goes into a lot of detail. It's just a fantastic site overall. So let's talk about the general schematic of the metal zone. We have the input buffer, then it goes, that's a switch right there. Then it goes into this op amp, which has a gyrator, big mid boost right there, if I recall correctly. It goes to a resistor, another resistor that kind of forms a voltage divider, so it's like killing off some signal there. It's also shelving off some high end, going through a cap into the gain stage, so that increases, not necessarily clipping, but increases like the volume that's trying to boost the volume there. We clip it to ground. So we're going to clip that signal hard to ground. Then we go through a kind of a high, mid, low, well, probably more like a low treble. 5K boost and 100 Hertz boost. We invert the signal and get ready to go into the EQ, bass and treble, semi-parametric mid, so you can't change the Q, but you can change the frequency, and then out. So there's a million things you could do. A lot of people would just, you know, maybe replace a few parts. I've seen a lot of online stuff where people will replace some capacitors, some of the electrolytic capacitors, like a film capacitor. I guess that does make a little bit of difference, but it's not a gigantic difference in my opinion. What's more fun is turning it into something else. So let's turn it into a Tubescreamer. So get out a pen and paper, take some notes if you can, if you want to, because there's a lot to change. You're going to need a pen and paper. Here is the TS808. Now keep in mind, when we change this, it's not going to be exactly like the Tubescreamer, but it's going to be pretty close to it. So we're going to change the main gain stage. We're going to add a little tone control. I like to put a little mini potentiometer inside. To do that, you can mount a pot on the outside. I'm not a big fan of pedals that have like pots sticking out the side or the front, or that's just a me thing. You can do it if you want. We can go from the tone control into the volume now. So let's go back to look a little bit at the metal zone circuit on electricdruid.net. He's already done all the spicing, all the fancy software stuff to show exactly what's going on inside the pedal, circuit-wise. Here we go. That very first, we call it a gyrator. That very first stage with the op amp is basically giving you a big mids boost at about 1K. It looks like. That's 36 dB boost right there. That's a bunch of mids. You got the gain stages there. It kind of details what's going on with the gain stages and the EQ shaping. The next two gyrators after that, there's two of them here. One's at about almost 5K. One's at Hertz, 5K Hertz, and the other one's at 100 Hertz. So that's a treble boost and a bottom end boost. Those are fixed. And then you go into the EQ, but that's no fun. Let's take a look at what we got here to compare the circuits. Okay, we go from the buffer through a 1 microfarad. This resistor here is just making the op amp nice and happy so it runs good, giving it a little bit of voltage bias, a little bit of biasing, you know, not cognitive bias, that's something different. We have capacitors between the pins here, the inverting and non-inverting pins. And then you can see C103, R104, which is our resistor and capacitor like feedback network. Kind of sets the frequencies of what the gain stage is doing. So anyways, what we're going to do, we're basically going to mimic this. So we need to change the pot to a 500K pot. We're going to put diodes in here. But before we do that, let's follow the schematic of that Tubescreamer and mimic it. So going through the buffer, even though that's a transistor and this is a FET, it'll still work basically the same for our purposes, okay? 1 microfarad there, keep that, that's part of the switch. And here's the difference. Keep this resistor here. C33, we're going to make that, let's just make it a 1 UF, 1 microfarad. I mean, that basically will make it, with the two, with C39 and C33 in series, it's actually going to make it a 0.47. So I guess if you really wanted to be accurate, you'd put 2 microfarads together in parallel. That's parallel. If these are legs, you put them in parallel. Put that down in C33. That will basically give you close enough to 1 microfarad. If it was me though, for my own personal pedal, I would just put a 1 microfarad in there, because even at 0.47, you got all the frequencies of a guitar that you'd ever want. You're not like, you may be missing a little bit like the stupidly low frequencies that your guitar speaker isn't even going to reproduce. So I would probably just stick with a 1 microfarad. But we got to get rid of this gyrator. So the best way of doing this is to make it a buffer. Several different ways of doing it. Here's my favorite way of doing it. Take out Q10 to transistor. Take out Q10 completely. Take out C35 completely. C34, let's make that, let's make it a 0.1 UF. R46, make that a 100K resistor. Okay? And so we're getting rid of Q10, we're getting rid of C35, we're changing C34 to a 0.1, R46 to 100K. Let's take R44 down to a 1K. And you can get rid of C32 or keep it in, and you're not really going to hear much difference with if it's in there or not. Again, we're just putting another buffer in here, okay? Because we don't need this stage yet. And then we have 10K and 10K. We're actually going to make R45 a jumper, just something I like to do. I like to put a 1K in there. I think it's just a little bit better for practice. So following the schematic, you'd put a jumper, but I'd put a 1K. R42, we're going to take out completely. And when I say take out completely, I don't mean replace it with a jumper wire or anything. I mean just take it out, throw it over your shoulder. You got holes in the circuit board, it's gone, okay? That's fine for these parts. C29, 1 microfarad. Keep R40 as it is. And then C28, here's where we get really fancy. I'll come back to C28 in just a second. First, let's deal with this feedback network here, okay? We're going to mimic C103 and R104, and we do that by changing on the metal zone R41 to a 4.7K, changing C30 to a 0.047 microfarad. The distortion pot, we got to take this out. We got to go to Small Bear Electronics, Google it, and we're going to order a 500K pot. They have some Boss replacement parts there, and pots there. So we're going to get a 500K audio taper pot from Small Bear and stick that guy in there. And R51 is like a limiting resistor for like the minimum amount of gain. On the stock version, they have a 51K. I still think that's a little too high. I usually put like a 4.7 or maybe a 10K in there. So you do what you want. You can leave it at 1K. It's not going to hurt anything. It'll just go super, 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 super clean when it's all the way down at the minimum. So we got that. So we got R51 we're changing. We've changed the pot. Now the C28 dealio. Now here's where it gets interesting, because we got to take out, we really need to take out this part. We're going to mimic everything that's over here. So we have two, let's use 4148 diodes going different directions like normal. And we also need that roughly 50 picofarad, 47 picofarad, whatever you got, it's close enough. Put all those in parallel, and you know, each one in parallel. So you have cut off the extra legs and then put 2 legs down in that hole. So you have 2 diodes and a capacitor all in the hole that goes to C28. Coming out of the gain stage for the Tubescreamer, we go through a 1K and we go through a 0.22 microfarad to ground. So we got some changing to do here. So we're right here, C27. As you can see, there's no capacitor there. No capacitor at all. So what we can do, we can, it's not really going to affect anything. You can actually leave it, and it's not going to hurt anything at all. On the mod I would do, I probably would replace it with a 1 microfarad. You could jumper it, it's up to you. So either way, either a big cap or a jumper for C27. R33 is going to change to a 1K. We're going to rip out D3 and D4, and let's say in D4 we're going to put, in place of that diode, we're going to put a capacitor. We're going to put that 0.22 microfarad capacitor in the holes of D4. We're going to then jumper R32. We're going to remove R31, which gets rid of this filter entirely. C21, we're going to jumper. Again, if you're just one of those types you want to experiment with capacitors, you can leave the capacitor in there. You're probably not going to hear much of a difference. But to be authentic to the Tubescreamer, it just goes right into the op amp there. They're biasing it with the 10K versus on the metal zone, it's got 100K. You could run 100. You could run a 10K there. You'll kill a little bit of signal going into it. Probably not enough to really notice a difference, but you will lose a little bit of signal because that's creating a voltage divider of sorts. And then on the metal zone, we have these 2 gyrators. Remember the 100 hertz boost, the 5K boost. We're going to get rid of these totally and create a new tone stack. Okay, so looking at the Tubescreamer, got a 1K here between the pins. We have this potentiometer, so the outer lug of the potentiometer is connected to this pin here. The other lug, lug number 1 of that pot, is connected back to the input of that op amp. And then we have a cap and resistor to ground, which gives us a little tone control. And when you turn all the way down, it actually gives you a little bit more low pass filtering. On the metal zone, we got some work to do. We are going to, we got to get rid of these gyrators first. So let's just kill Q8 completely. Remove Q8, remove C24 entirely. Just let it go. Let it be. Let it go on in its miserable life. And then for the next gyrator, we're going to do some fancy magic with the potentiometer. And we are going to, probably the best way to do this is to take out Q7, remove it completely, remove C17 completely. For R27, we're going to change that to a 220 ohm resistor. Okay. For R24, yes, I know that's a resistor, but we're going to change that to a 0.22 microfarad. And you could swap the order, like you could have either one of those be the cap and either one of those be the resistor. As long as you have those 2 in order, you're fine. All right, so here's the trick on this R27. You need to, normally it's going to connect here to C20, right? That's the way the schematic is drawn. Since we're getting rid of C17 completely, we're getting rid of Q7 completely. We want to do something a little different on this C20. C20 we're actually going to take out as well, and in the leg that connects to C22, remember I said you got to use your multimeter. Well, you got to use your multimeter, find continuity, find which leg of C22 has 0 resistance with this leg of C20. So you have to find that point, and that point is where the outer leg of the trim pot, or your regular pot, if you're going to use, if you're going to drill a hole out in the side of the metal zone, and connect that, outside as a physical pot, as a secondary tone control. That's going to connect to lug number 3 of your tone pot, or your trim pot. It's going to be lug number 3, or one of the outer lugs. It's going to connect in that hole that is has 0 ohm resistance to C22. Hopefully that makes sense to you DIY guys. It probably will. So basically, this hole here on this side of the cap is going to connect to lug number 3. Your other lug, your number 1 lug, your other outer lug, is going to connect back to this resistor R29, but make sure make sure it is again, when you're checking for continuity between 2 points, you're going to put one of these dudes on pin number 5 and the other one on each end of R29, and that's going to tell you, that's the point that my other trim pot lug needs to connect to. So that's going to be lug number 1 of that trim pot or that regular potentiometer. Your middle lug is going to connect to the other hole of C20. One leg of that C20 is connecting to a pot. The other lug of C20 is going right to the middle lug of your trim pot or your potentiometer. That's going to give you like the Tubescreamer tube control, which whenever you back it down, it creates a more of a low pass filter, and then it boosts the highs and a little bit of the mids as you turn it up. R30, we're going to make this a 1K, and C22 is, we're just going to remove that completely. From there, it goes into an inverting buffer, which is different than the Tubescreamer. In my opinion, we kind of need this for the EQ to really work right. Technically, you probably could bypass it, but I'm not a big fan of doing that with this EQ circuit. So I actually like to keep it like it is. I like to increase a little bit of volume. So in R28, I like to make that a 10K. Just gives it a little bit more output volume. I think the Tubescreamer circuit needs a little bit of that in its life. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Not one of my favorite things to do. One of my favorite things to do is eat cookie dough. But if I'm looking at a metal zone and I'm making it into a Tubescreamer and I need more volume, that's one of my favorite things to do. From there, we go into the EQ. Now, you can change frequencies of the lows and the highs and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into that on this video. That's for you to download LT Spice. Put the schematic in there, tweak all kinds of values, see what you like to do, see what you want it to be. So I like the metal zone EQ pretty much as it is. I think it works really great with a lot of different types of circuits, which is why I showed you about making it an EQ pedal. Now you have your new Tubescreamer, which is in a metal zone case, and whenever you kick it on, people are going to say, wow, that sounds like a really fantastic sounding Tubescreamer. How are you getting that sound out of a metal zone? And you're going to say, just good. All right, so I hope that really helps a lot of you guys. I hope it helps you DIYers who like to experiment with things, and maybe even some of you guitar players who don't want anything to do with schematic or electronics, but you might be curious on how things work and how modifications can totally change the sound of a pedal. So that's just one example, and taking a metal zone and drastically changing it into an entirely different pedal. You can use all different kinds of schematics to do this. I've shown you last week I did a rat mod, which I kind of did the same exact thing. I just used a rat circuit, a rat schematic, rather than a Tubescreamer. The Overdrive circuit that I used last week was one that I had created in a previous time, year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. Never released it, but I thought it really sounded good. So I wasn't doing like the Tubescreamer thing, but I do know that the Tubescreamer circuit on the metal zone sounds fantastic. So hope you like this video. Consider subscribing if you're not subscribed and you do like these type of videos. Make sure you check out if you're into Facebook and that sort of thing. Make sure you check out our group, Wampler Pedals Tone Group, where we talk about a lot of tone-related stuff. Go figure. And if you have any comments or questions, make sure you comment below. See you in a few days with a new video. Later.